Paul O'Connor is a former world champion water skier turned Hollywood stuntman and stunt coordinator. Getting his start in live shows, Paul consistently gave 110% and became known as the guy that would take the hard hits. From his first big break on Iron Man 3 to doubling stars such as Matthew McConaughey, Paul quickly racked up some major credits in film and television productions. A devoted family man, when Paul isn't on set, he's engaged with his family in water skiing, sports, and traveling. And in his spare time, which there isn't much of, he can be found flying his own private aircraft. So I invite you all to sit back and enjoy a fun conversation with Paul O'Connor. Paul O'Connor, thank you so much for joining us here on Tir-Kai Tales. I'm really excited to have you join us on our show.
Cool.
This is going to be amazing.
Jackie Schmidt, I'm very excited to be on Tir-Kai Tales.
We'll roll with it, Paul. We'll take that. Come on, you're Irish. It's Irish. Tir-Kai Tales.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. That's awesome. Paul, thank you so much again. This is going to be really exciting. You have a fantastic story to share with everyone.
Oh, boy.
So take us a little bit from the beginning.
So first off, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to keep track of this. You said 14 minutes. This interview will be 14 minutes long. And I don't remember signing my contract before I got here. So
we have it in the trailer.
I assume I'll sign my contract after the interview.
Yes.
So that's forward to.
We'll have that.
And 14 minutes starting. Stopwatch now.
And now.
Good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul O'Connor.
Also, I would like to note to the listeners that interviews are not my strong suit. Just want to start that out with some a little precursors. If anybody has any high expectations, to lower those before the interview starts.
Well, this is going to be great. We're just going to have a casual conversation, and everybody's getting to know your personality.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, Jackie. Good. Okay, you can start.
Are we ready?
Let's start with question 10.
It's question 10. All right, question 10. So that means we're leaping forward a little bit. Tell us about your career as a water skier.
Water skiing, to me, was the first thing that really excited me in my life. You know, it was something that really got me going. And I remember the first time I went to see a ski show, and it was almost like a performance, like a theater act on the show. I saw it and I just thought, what are these guys doing? Hitting the jump, barefooting, all this stuff really excited me. And as soon as I got into it with my sister, Liz, and we would go to practices all the time, all summer long. Anytime during the winter, I would just watch videos about water skiing. I was completely obsessed, you know. And to be good at anything, you have to be obsessed with it, like you with your horses or gymnastics before that. It's all about obsession. Obsessions are good, you know, only in moderation, which is not the saying because moderation doesn't count. But full obsession, you have to be fully into it, right? So water skiing was that for me, one of my first loves. And I was on a ski team back home in Michigan called the Sprain Masters Water Ski Team. Shout out. No, they don't. I don't even think anybody knows me anymore on that team, but I have a lot of friends that, you know, used to be on the team with me and lifelong friends, you know, but my sister and I were on that. Water skiing eventually took me out of my hometown, which is something I always wanted to do, to go and travel and to leave home. And water skiing afforded me that opportunity. And I left home to go to California, the first water ski show I got to do. And that was my first time doing live amusement park shows.
Yeah.
I think you know something about that live.
A little bit.
And I was hooked. There was a crowd. It was raw. It was happening out there. You know, it wasn't like what we do now. We can take 5, 6, 7, 8 takes to get the shot, you know.
Exactly.
Live shows like theater, you know, you're up there in front of the crowd. Everybody's watching your every move. It's organic. It's fluid. Sometimes things change. Sometimes, you know, you got to kick Kyle Zepernick in the butt just to keep you going, things like that. And water skiing was my first adventure into that arena.
I love it. So you had to adapt. You got to do your physical activity, your sport that you loved, but you had the added performance aspect of it.
Which up to then, I was never a theater kid. I was never anything like that. Band, I never did any of that stuff. This was my first real whoa, you know.
Yeah.
And it was kind of thrown into the deep end because it was thousands of people. You know, my first show was at a Six Flags Marine World in Vallejo, California, and it was, I think, 2,500, you know, seat audience, and first, you know, like jumping into the summer California sun. It was amazing. So many good friends, so many of that original team I still talk to on Facebook, and we see each other when we go to different states where everybody lives now, and it was amazing. Yeah. So that was my first leaving home, off on my own, and then I was hooked. It was the life for me, you know.
A gypsy life. Really.
Gypsy life for me, yeah. Bring on the circus cars and hop on, you know. And from there, I went to China for a year. I was over there. A couple of my friends from the California show were going to China. Hooked onto that train, went over there. It was amazing. Got to experience international travel for the first time. Really, I'd gone to Mexico a few times, but over an ocean, it was wonderful. So many of the people, the culture, the experiences over there, the friendships I made, you know, just the relationships and the culture, total, you know, culture shock. And everything about it was amazing. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And yeah, it was just another, you know, opening up of the audience. You know, we didn't speak the same language. Mm-hmm. The music was crazy, you know, like nothing like our music, and the whole show experience was crazy. And it was it was called Long Night Zoo. It was a zoo that was only open after hours, you know, like nighttime. Uh-huh. So we would like walk into the park. I think our days started at 3 p.m., 4 p.m. And we would walk in through like the shortcut through the park was through this like enclosure of like flying things, you know, and like little like flying squirrels and monkeys, and we would just run through because it was like crazy, and the park wasn't open yet, so the lights were on, and it was just like so cool. And we were back in the back part of this park, and beautiful, like, you know, I don't know, everything about that experience just makes me smile. You know, we had a ping pong table in the break room, and the Chinese guys were so much better than us.
You know? Ping pong, that's like their national treasure.
And I thought I was like, okay, you know, and they just whooped us. And the one guy, Ching, he was so good, and we would always keep score in Chinese, and you know that helped us like learn Chinese. And part of our job working over there, this is a long story about.
I love it.
Story. So part of our job going over to do the show was that we were training a Chinese water ski team to take over for us after the show.
Oh, okay.
I was working for a team called H2O, Amphibian Stunts, and that was Amphibian Stunts, and they were out of Australia. Jack and Dion Ellison, amazing Australian brothers that have this team together, and I got to go over there with them and a couple Australian motorbike guys that would jump from island to island, and we would ski underneath them in this man-made lake. And a couple skiers from Canada, a skier from Holland, skiers from all over the States, just a couple, I think, German skiers. And yeah, it was awesome. The show was so cool. I forgot what I was saying, but
just talking about the culture and the excitement of travel through the ski shows and what that brought into your life as far as just making it a well-rounded experience and introducing you to working with different people from all over the world and their take on entertainment, which is going to transfer later on into your stunt career for traveling.
Eventually I did do stunts.
Yes. So let's go
later.
A little bit later.
So after China, I went back to California for a summer, and then did another summer there. I did a high dive show out there where, so sad story, they had a whale pool at Six Flags. Something happened to the tank and one of the whales passed away. So they had to ship the whales away, but they said, humans could go in the water because we can put a bunch of chlorine in the water, and I don't know what is in whale water, but they decided they needed to figure out their filtration system for the whales, put in chlorine, whatever. I don't know the logistics of everything, but for some reason, no whales, humans, diving boards, pirate show, Paul worked there. So I don't know the details, but
that's great.
I was a diver in high school.
Oh, okay.
They were looking for divers. I said, I dive. They said, oh, you do a ski show. I said, yeah, this is perfect. So I did 3 ski shows a day and 2 dive shows in between the ski shows, and they just paid me double, and I was a happy camper. Got to do 1 meter, 3 meter, 30 foot, 60 foot, 90 foot. And I was one of the few high divers. I only did a couple of high dives from the 90, but it was I think I did a reverse dive and then a reverse full from the 90.
Wow.
And I loved it. It was so much fun. This crowd was awesome. The front of the pool was like glass because of the whale show. So when we dove in, the audience could see us dive through. It was a very, very cool show and fun and, you know, kind of a comedy pirate show.
That's great.
But one of the original person who wrote that show worked for Gary Thompson, who also ran the ski show. His name was Greg Dolph, and he was one of the Waterworld guys down in LA at the Waterworld show. So he came up and he had done stunts in movies and stuff. And that was my first kind of like, oh, there's like other, you know, areas to go from just the water ski show, the dive show. And then one of the skiers, her name was Monica Sloan. Her husband, Greg Sloan, was also worked at the Waterworld show, and he was a stuntman on Hollywood, you know, like in the real Hollywood stuntman. It was the first time I met a Hollywood stuntman, and I was like, wow, that's a job, you know? So I think it was like in, you know, the great oak come from the seeds. So that little stunt seed was implanted into Paul's little brain, and off I went on my journeys. And then from there I went to Germany, and over there I met a very tan water skier named Joey, and fell in love on the first day I saw her, and told my buddy Brad that I was going to marry that girl, and didn't even know that she was a water skier. It's the first time I saw her. We had all flown to Chicago. From Chicago we were going to Frankfurt, and in Frankfurt we took a bus and a train and whatever, paddle boats over to Haslock, this little tiny town that we lived in, which was like being back in the 1800s or 1700s. It was like being back in time. It was so awesome. I loved Haslock. And we got to live with this one family I got to live with that had a big house with all these rooms, and the water skiers lived in parts of the house, and they were called the Worst family. But the Worst family was the best family. Their last name was Worst, but they were these amazing Kurt and Giesel were
Not like bratwurst and
cooked the food.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't have survived Germany without them. And then
That's awesome.
So on the plane in Chicago airport, we're all there. Everybody's drinking, getting plastered because we're about to go on a 9-hour flight. I didn't drink at all, but I saw this super tan, gorgeous girl on the airplane, and I told my buddy, I was like, man, I hope she speaks English because I'm going to go talk to her, you know. And she was a little tipsy, and I started talking to her, and then all of a sudden one of my friends came over and said, Joey, oh, you just met Paul. I was like, no way, this girl's one of the skiers. So I was thinking she was just on the plane with us. I was going to talk to her. Then come to find out that I'm going to spend the next 12 months with her. So like it got implanted in my head I was going to win this girl over right away. And 3 months later, after about 27 proposals for a date, she said yes. So persistence pays off. And and now we have 2 beautiful children. And
I believe he had quite a unique wedding proposal.
Yeah.
That
jumping out of an airplane for the first time, both of us. We were with my sister, and right before she jumped, it was her first time too. I stopped and said, oh, by the way, will you marry me? Oh, the guy jumps with her, and she's like falling like, are you serious? You know, that was her proposal. And she said yes, thankfully.
Yes.
And yeah, we just celebrated our 16 years being married.
Congratulations.
And, son Cal, daughter Mally, 11 and 14, and they're the best things in the world. And happy wife, happy life. And so from Germany, came back to the States, went to Wisconsin for a little bit, skied at the Tommy Bartlett show in Wisconsin Dells, which was a water ski show. And then there was an after show with some circus people called the Nerbless Knox, who were just on AGT, who were this amazing family of stunt people, and got to hang out with them. And a juggler, juggler, I got to hang out with him, and love all that stuff, love all that circus life, gypsy life. It's my favorite, you know. And the office life was not for me. But when we were in Wisconsin, I actually did get a normal person job, and we were thinking about settling down and what that world was going to look like. And I started going to school to be an engineer, so I applied at this engineering firm, Skylight Company in Wisconsin, and didn't realize that it was for, college diploma real engineers. And I showed up at this interview and gave him my resume, which I printed out the night before, that said like high school, like 1 year of college, and the guy was so nice, and they was talking to him, and I kind of hit it off with him. And he's like, why don't you sit down? So they had this like row of computers, and there was like 6 or 7 of us. We got to interview with the two different, the husband and wife actually own the company. Interviewed with them, and then we did a little, hands-on CAD programming interview. I keep wanting to say audition, but it was like an audition. And long story short, I ended up getting that job.
Okay.
And I was the only one out of the 7, and everybody else was college graduates. And I got to work at that place, got put on as a staff engineer, did probably 200 different draft drawings for different skylights, fabrication drawings. I would get to go back in the shop and help the guys create what we had kind of designed for like schools and malls and churches and hospitals and things like that, skylights. And it was very cool, but I knew when I was sitting at the desk playing on the computer, it was a great company, great team, great coworkers, but I would have just been completely miserable, It
wasn't your passion.
It was not, I couldn't have lived that life, I wasn't wired for that. So I kind of, told Joey, I said, hey, on the Wednesday nights, there's a stunt team in Chicago, which was 3.5 hours away.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go train with them on Wednesday. She goes, that's a long drive. I was like, yeah, but it'll be active and, gets me, So she was cool with it, started training with them. A couple of them were doing some like independent films in the Chicago area, Chicago stunt team. It was really fun, and hung out with them, trained, and I was like, yeah, I need to get back into the, into the entertainment world. So I told Joey, I said, hey, I think I want to be like a professional stuntman. I want to go and do movies and TV shows. And she goes, okay. She goes, I like that. Where should we go? And I said, I think we should go to Florida, because she loves Florida too. And we had she was pregnant with Mally, our first child. And she just always has just blind faith in me. And she's like, you think you can do this? I said, yeah. She goes, me too. So we moved to Florida, and eventually I get hired at Disney World and the Indiana Jones show. And then from there, Universal, doing the Sinbad show. And it was just a perfect fit. I loved it. I loved everything about those parks, the people I met, the show we got to do, the crowds we got to do it for, the people we got to meet. Everything was great. And it was a perfect stunt training ground. And just very, very fortunate for all of these crazy roads that cross and do this and do that and lead you to the life you're supposed to live. And, for a SAG job, or before that, I started doing independent stuff just with buddies from Epic, the Indiana Jones show. And then I started doing Telemundo with my buddies and driving down there and getting paid a fifth of what a SAG contract was, but we didn't care because they were letting us do real things for bigger cameras and
get experience.
Yeah. And it was paid training. And then eventually, got my SAG card through being in the
Actors Equity
at Disney. And then Mr. Artie Maleshi gave me my first job on Burn Notice.
All right.
It was amazing. And my first episode, I got to drive a cop car and then shoot at the Jeffrey Donovan, and all this stuff. And my mom was so excited I was going to be on TV. She held a neighborhood watch party at her house. Everybody was, all my neighbors, a couple of my cousins were all over my mom's house. And they called me and they said, what part are you in? And I said, I'd grab the cop car and then I'd shoot at the Jeffrey Donovan because I was not a cop, or whatever the episode was. Long story short, they cut my scene out of the episode. Everybody's there at the house. They said, Paul, were you the guy in the gray coat? And I said, no. I didn't want them, the first time they saw me, on the big screen or the little screen, so I said, I think they cut my part. Yeah. And they all said, hey, at least he was there, and they celebrated and all this stuff. And before that, another little funny thing, I was working at Universal. I get a call from one of the guys wrangling for Artie, finding the names of people. He calls me. He says, hey, are you available these days? I said, I'm available for eternity. What is the job? When is it? And
yes.
He says, okay, it's next Tuesday. I said, what do you know? I'm available. He goes, all right, you're on the table. I said, awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. Hang up. Call Joey. Joey, guess what? I got my first job. It's on Bird Notice. I'm on the table thinking that means you have the job. That is not what that means. That means you are on a table with several, 4, 5, 6, 10 other people. The director comes in, knows nothing of your skills, and says, that one. Okay. So I was not that one. So a couple days later, he calls, say, hey, the director wants somebody else, but we'll get you on the next one. Okay. That was a couple days later. That night, I called Joey. She makes a cake. Gets the whole thing, like Bird Notice on the cake, first SAG job. I go home. I'm thinking I have the job too. Yeah. I blow the candle out on the got your first job cake. We eat the cake. I didn't get that job. So the stunt world, the movie business is cruel sometimes. It takes a lot of resilience and a lot of letdowns and perseverance to just push through, because sometimes you think you made it and you didn't make it. You were just on the table, you know. But yeah.
But there was one time that you made it beyond the table, and you worked really, really hard to get your first big break.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey to get Iron Man 3.
Yeah, so that was my first movie. So I had done a few TV shows at that point. I was on Bird Notice. I was on Vampire Diaries. I was on Sleepy Hollow, maybe 3 or 4 TV shows I had done. Got a couple set days. It was for me. I loved every second of it. Nothing ever felt like work. It was just amazing. The whole process, the whole movie making, the feel of the set, the vibe you get.
If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Which is a quote that Joey laminated and gave me to put in my stunt bag. And I put it in my stunt bag the day I went to my indie audition. And I never took it out of my stunt bag until I watched that stunt bag.
Oh, no.
On a movie in Alabama. But that quote is still in my stunt bag, I believe, in some random building in Alabama. I don't know, but the quote stayed with me until the end.
That's amazing.
So, Iron Man. I had decided to move to New Orleans, and in pursuit of more shows, because a couple other shows were shooting there, hard to drive. I said, we should just pack up, go to New Orleans. So we were moving to New Orleans. We had been there like a month, and I wasn't getting any work there. So I was driving all the way back to Orlando to do indie. They were kind enough to keep me on as a CT. So I was driving back and forth, putting out feelers, doing this, doing that, trying to make it. And I get a call that they're going to do an audition down in Miami. So this was like on a Thursday, and they're going to do it Friday morning. So Joey grabs the kids, piles everybody in the car. We drive from New Orleans Thursday afternoon all the way to Miami, which is not a short trip.
Yeah.
We slept in the car. I made it there with like a half hour to spare, no sleep, jazzed up on Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and go in, and lo and behold, I get to fight with Adam Lytle for my audition, who is just incredible. So talented, made me look so good. We both got the job. And Iron Man 3 was so cool. Just the name, just the feel of being in a Marvel show at that level, when I was trying so hard to make it, not really getting, I was getting little wins, but it was like no victories, it was just like a day, I'd get 1 week, and it was like, oh my God, a weekly, and then, it's a struggle. When you're starting out, you really have to pay your dues. And I was so fortunate and so happy and so grateful that I had that first job. I was going to do anything it took to kind of just stand out. And we got a week of rehearsal where we got to, to meet all the guys and the whole Marvel crew. The whole feel of it was just, it was so much energy, and, it was such a cool experience. We got to come up with this cool fight. We were the Mandarin guards outside the complex where Ben Kingsley's character is like hiding out or whatever.
Stark.
Yeah, Tony Stark has to come to get the Iron Man suit, because they took the suit, whatever. So he's got to break into. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us guards. So we come up with this fight, and the scene before, per the script, was that he stops at a hardware store, grabs hardware tools to fight these guards, So they had all these different tools, and they had a thing called a plumb bob, which is a leveling device if you're going to set like a hinge or a door, and you need, to transfer a point from a ceiling down to the ground, tie a string, and it's just a weight, and it swings, then it stops, and then okay, that's plumb bob. But it's a string with a weight. So we come up with this fight with the plumb bob. grabbing people, doing this, lassoing this, over here, 6 guys, 6-on-1, cool fight, you know, up the stairs, around the stuff. We practice it. We pre-visit. We fix the previs. We practice it some more. We do it at the stunt double. A couple of times, RDJ is supposed to come rehearse with us, Robert Downey Jr., but he can't come. He's busy on set. Some of the schedule changes, weather, whatever. Let's shoot in Florida. So we just adapt and conquer. We say, okay, we'll just teach him on the day. So we go there, and we're getting ready to rehearse, but there's no time to rehearse, so they just send us through the works. We go up to set, which is way away. I know my part. I don't really need pads. Suit was a little tight. Like, everything was rushed. I was like, I'm not going to wear any pads. So we leave our stunt bags at the base of this thing because it's this garden. You have to hike up. All this stuff happens. We get up there. Robert Downey Jr. shows up on set. We all shake his hand. So kind, funny guy, laughing the whole time. Everything was great. Started to show him the fight, and he said, what is that thing? I said, no, there's a plumb bob. They said, that's stupid. Tony Stark would never use that. The entire fight was with plumb. They say, okay, this is great. And so the stand-in coordinator, because Marcus Renthroyd was off getting married, so Mike Justice was there, and he's just kind of winging it and said, okay, well, what else do we have in the bag? So he pulls this out and and he grabs a taser, and he grabs this, and he goes, well, the first guy, I'm not even in the bag yet. I'm going to be getting in the bag. I'm just going to, like, knee him in the nuts. They said, okay. And then he goes, and then I'll pull out this taser, go like this, and we never even rehearsed it. It was just a boom, boom. He just randomly makes stuff up. They said, we love it. That's what we're going to do. Let's get ready. Mike Justice comes over. He goes, hey, Paul, do you have a cup? I said, yeah, in my stunt bag back at base camp. He goes, oh, do you have like a pad that you could shove, you know, like there? I said, I don't want any pads. You know, like my gag, I didn't really need pads for what I was going to do.
Yeah.
He said, oh. I said, but it's okay. He said, what do you mean? He goes, oh, okay. Well, we'll just have him knee to the side. I said, okay. So he comes over. He said, oh, Robert, the way to make this look the best is if you actually just knee him on the groin off to the side. And he goes, oh, okay. And he tried to do it, and he was like nervous. And he says, how's this looking? They're like, oh, it looks okay. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, why don't you just knee me as hard as you can for real? And he just looked at me, and he was like, what's that? And I'm like, yeah, just knee me in the nuts as hard as you can, like you hated me. He said, and he looked at Justin and goes, like, I don't know. He goes, okay, you're on. I was like, sweet. I was like, the reaction will look good. It'll definitely sell. This means a lot to me. Go as hard as you can. He's like, F it, you're on, brother. And he walks away. So we didn't rehearse it, nothing. Mike Justice looks at the camera and he's like, hey guys, RDJ is going to knee this guy in the nuts as hard as he can. So let's try to get this in one. Everybody walks away. We roll. First time doing it, he just knees me as hard as he can, square in the nuts. So the take in the movie is for real. I'm getting hit in the nuts as hard as I can. And it hurt so bad. The hardest nut shot I've ever taken. It floored me for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, And everybody got a good laugh. And I got a cool take for my first gag, cool story. And then later, the next year, I open up my my corporation, because when you're working, you need a corporation, tax liability stuff. And I call it Stuntnuts, which is also palindrome, which is funny, backwards, forwards, but really, because my first big gag was getting hit in the nuts. So.
Did Robert Downey Jr. say, where's the Stuntnut?
Yeah. And then I got another. And then he remembered that too later when I worked with him again on Avengers.
Hey, Stuntnuts.
I remember kneeing you in the nuts, because somebody, I think, told him. But yeah, good stuff, good stories.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's really, like, I have a lot of memories of shows, and sometimes I don't even remember what the show was, but I remember the story, and I remember the people, and I remember the laughs. And I feel really fortunate to do what we do. And it honestly, it never feels like work, because I do love it. And
that's what it's about. It's the whole journey. It's the people that you meet. It's the way that they impact your life, the way that you impact their lives, and you're all getting together to tell a story that could change somebody's life when they're watching it on TV or film. And it's really neat how it's just that chemistry just flows from one medium to the other. And
even the movies we make, some once in a while we get gifted a good movie that'll kind of last through time. But most of the time, it's a very temporary thing. It'll be out at the theater or, like streaming or this or that or video or whatever. But it has kind of a lifespan of like 2 years, 3 years, something, and then goes away. But like the stories last longer than the movies to me, so it's like the experiences we have in the process of movie making is bigger than the product at this point to me, because I've kind of realized that, the relationships you make are lifelong and the stories you make are, amazing. And it's more about the process than the product for me now.
Talking about the process, we're going to have a lot of young and up-and-coming stunt performers listening to this, and current peers. What advice would you give for people really wanting to get into the industry about the process, about the resiliency required, the struggle? It really is a struggle.
Absolutely. Through the struggle, you build strength. And I think most of the people I know who've been successful in the business have had a rough road. The people that kind of get into it and it's easy for them, or those first couple jobs or big jobs or like long runs, I don't think it builds the right type of mindset for the game that we play. And then the next time, or, a year later, when they go through a struggle, they think their time has come and gone, whatever, like it's through the failures that we really appreciate the victories and appreciate the positions that we're in. And it's not an easy business to get into. It's a fun business and it's a wonderful business, and I love it with all my heart, but it takes time, and it takes a lot of resiliency, and it takes a lot of little victories, but a lot of losses and a lot of failures and a lot of almosts and a lot of close calls, and like big close calls, like not like, oh, I missed out on a day. Like you'll miss out on runs that last 6 months, and the person who got it instead of you goes on to do another 6-month run after that. And those hurt, and they hurt to your core, because that it's your livelihood, and that these jobs pay the bills, and these jobs are not single jobs, because the people you meet and the connections you make lead to more jobs, and every job leads to 10, 15 more jobs. And really, if you get a coordinator that likes you, if you get 2 or 3 coordinators that like you and use you, that's all you need in this business, So it's like every little loss or every job you almost get really takes a toll. But the people who are successful are the ones that, that are just willing to not give up. It's just when you are about to give up, you just keep going. Just put in a little more. Just put in one more tape. Just put in one more submission, because eventually, they reach a meeting place where you start to get as many wins as losses, and then all of a sudden the losses, start to dwindle away. But it takes so much time and perseverance and push. And it's funny, I talk to so many stunt people and actors and actresses that I've got to know, and it's a very, very common theme that they were about to give up. They missed an audition, they missed a stunt double job, they missed something, and they were about to give up when they got their big break. And I hear these stories, and the more I hear it from my experiences, I realize that these are the people that had other losses before and didn't give up. So to them, that it was their last shot. They were doing one more audition and then they got it. But what I hear from the other side is they weren't going to give up. It wasn't their last shot.
No.
It wasn't their last audition. They were telling themselves that, and that little voice inside your head, is trying to convince you that this is it. But if it wasn't it, they would have kept going, because those people kept going before, So when I hear that now, I kind of smile to myself. I never say it to them, but I hear it a lot, that, man, you wouldn't believe it. I was ready to pack my bags, move home, get a normal person job. And I got that call that changed my life, that put me on this core team for 6 months. It led me to this job and this job. And in my head, I'm thinking, you're not a quitter, man. I was like, just the other day I was talking to a performer, and I thought the same thing. I thought she wasn't going to quit no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool. And I hear it with actors and actresses too. There's a lot of stories you'll hear where it was, my bags were packed, I was ready to go. I figured I'd do one more audition. Maybe they did go home for a week, and then they moved back to LA and try a couple more auditions and move back, and then go out and do a couple more, you know, like those are the people that just push through when it gets tough, because it is tough. And it's not like a nick on your elbow. Like, it is soul crushingly tough when you miss out on one of these jobs. And the business is, the business is just so hot and cold and so wonderful and nightmarish at the same time, you know. And it's a world all in itself, you know. But I am so grateful for the industry, and I'm so grateful for whatever reason I had the push to not give up, because I had so many failures early on and so many close calls and so many missed opportunities. But at the same time, I know that there's a lot of people out there that pushed just as hard as I did, or harder, or were more talented, or trained more, and didn't get certain opportunities just by luck, just by randomness, just by someone bringing up my name and putting it in somebody's head, just by me having the right hair color, just by just really random stuff. And I'm very aware that it takes skill and it takes drive, but it took luck, you know. And I'm very fortunate to my friends that, you know, I've been able to ride on some very, very wonderful coattails for some very talented people that I get to call my friends. And it's such a pleasure and a blessing that I get to go on this ride with them, because not only do I have, you know, the greatest job that I could imagine, I get to do it with my best friends in life, you know. And it's pretty special. And I would be doing it for peanuts compared to what we make, and none of that matters. You know, we get to create, and we get to spend our days together laughing and joking and creating. And, you know, we always say we fake it till we make it. We've been faking it a long time, and they just, you know, keep falling for it, you know, like that's what it is. But it's a very special job we get to do, you know.
When it puts in perspective what you were talking earlier about just not giving up, is that it's usually darkest just before the dawn.
Totally.
And it's just when it's getting super, super hard, and when, like you're saying, you're about ready to just throw in the towel, no, hang on by your fingernails, because that's when it's about to come and happen for you.
The dawn will come. Yeah. You know.
And then talks about luck. I think it was once described that luck can be when preparedness meets opportunity. Yeah. So you have to be ready. You don't want that phone call to come and to be like, oh, I have to get ready. You know, be ready so you don't have to get ready. Yeah. And
one of the mottos of my life, sorry to cut you up, is it's better to be lucky than good. I do say that's kind of the story of my life. I've been very fortunate and very lucky, but at the same time, when I was put into certain opportunities and circumstances, I appreciated the opportunity that I was put in, and I knew, you know, I had a lot riding on it, and I was willing to put everything into it, you know. But it is, you know, it is being prepared and being, you know, ready when the opportunity comes. But for some people, you know, it's just a matter of time, you know. And sometimes too, you know, there's an old saying, be careful what you wish for, it just might come true. And it's that even when you think you want something so bad, some of the consequences of that thing you don't expect, you know. Sometimes some God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. You know, sometimes you get what you're wishing for, and there's extra things attached, you know, that you don't expect and that you're not ready for. I've seen it a lot in this industry where timing just wasn't quite right, or something was, you know, you have to take everything, you know. You don't just get the good parts of any job, any career, any goal, any dream, any desire you've got, you know. You'll get there, you know, if you really want it and you try hard enough, it will happen. But you have to take everything, you know. And for me, I really wanted this world so bad. I wanted to be in it. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted everything. And and I pushed hard, and I was given certain opportunities, and I got lucky. I really did. I got lucky early on in my career with a few things, and I'm so fortunate for that. And I never want to apologize for the luck I've been given, but sometimes I feel like maybe I didn't deserve some of it, or for whatever reason I was given certain things. But at the same time, one of my curses with my gift is that I have to be away from my family a lot.
Yes.
And I want nothing more than just to, especially their both of the kids, Mally and Cal, are both in sports a lot.
Yes.
And I love sports, all sports, any sports, all sports. Like whatever. I love competing. I love the drama. I love the narratives that get built upon a game. I won't even like the teams. I don't even like the sport, but I will watch that sport. Like, I love sports, and I have to miss a lot of the kids' sports. And a lot of the kids, my daughter dances, and it is her love, and she's so amazing. And I have to ask her how it went on the phone, on FaceTime. And they're so understanding, and because I have a super wife, but it is hard. Yeah. But I understand that, with the gifts, you have to pay some of the consequences.
It's your job. It's part of your career. It's almost like living a doctor's life. Surgeons, they have to go to the hospital. They have that, and your children understand that.
But I'm not saving any lives, and I live in a little bit of a perpetual state of regret, because I know the life I'm living. I will one day look back and say, I made the wrong choice. I should have turned down that job. I should have turned down that 6th day. I should have turned down the 7th day to go into, miss a birthday party or miss a swim meet or miss a dance recital. And, the position that we're in, to be at the level we're at, we don't get to make those calls. It just is what it is. And, it'll be a certain day, and I this is terrible. I really don't want to be here, but I'm so fortunate to be here that I'm willing to live in a state of regret, knowing that I get to further my career,
Yes.
and it's really hard, and, but it kind of is what it is. It's the game we play. It's the industry we're in. We don't get to pick our hours. We don't get to pick our days, but it affords our family to live a certain lifestyle that is very special and is setting them up for, success and really great experiences in the school we go to and the area we live in. It's just wonderful, and I'm so grateful for it, and I'm willing to put in the sacrifice. And for me, my sacrifice is my time. My time away from Joey and the kids is something that means a lot to me, and something that I value, and something that I know it has a sense of worth to it that I'm trading, But at the same time, I love my job. I love the people I get to work with. I love the projects that we get to work on, Yes. But there's goods at the bag.
Yeah, I mean, you'll also go 72 hours without sleeping because you can drive back and make your daughter's school dance.
And they know I go home every weekend, and no matter what, they know weekend comes, Dad might be passed out in the front yard somewhere, but he's going to be here,
Never.
And they know that, and they know that they're above everything. They mean more to me than anything, and I will try everything I can to be there for those things. But sometimes, our jobs, they just don't. There's no replacing us on set. Like, we don't get sick days, we don't get anything. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And
But I know they're also proud of you too.
Yeah,
I think with
a little less now that I'm coordinating more. Cal especially is that, what part are you in? Are you a good guy or a bad guy? I'm just being, no, that's cool. It's very much less impressive.
Yeah. What was he most impressed by? I believe you were working on some of the Marvel films, and he was most excited about one role that you got to do.
I don't remember which one.
It was when you pretty much got to almost be every Avenger at some point.
How to breathe, there's all the motion capture stuff, and
I think he was most excited about the Hulk.
Yeah. Getting to do one scene where I put on the pajamas, and and then Winter Soldier, I got to wear the arm, which was cool. He liked those photos. I always show them all the photos, and I don't post anything on Facebook or anything, but I get the previs, and I get the photos, and I get the stories, and I go and show them to try to still be cool in their mind, you know.
They get a little sneak peek behind the scenes,
Yeah.
extra DVD version, live from Dan.
But it's all about the stories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. What's been one of the most harrowing stunts that you've done? Something that really
I've had
either challenging or kind of just really made the butterflies in the stomach just like, oh my goodness. What's one of the most
one of my greatest gifts is I don't really get nervous for stuff. You know, I know there's situations I'm in and I think to myself, I'm broken because I am not nervous. Like, I know I should be nervous and I should be nervous that I'm not nervous, but for some reason I'm just like, I guess I'm doing that, you know, like I don't get butterflies very often. I don't get nervous, which is, you know, led me to the emergency room more times than I can count. But yeah, I would say one of the most harrowing, you know, one of the coolest things we got to do was we were with a lot of my team that I'm on now, but with Walter Garcia, he was fight coordinating, and a bunch of us were in it, but it was the Oldboy stunt team. And we were trying to do the remake of Oldboy, and they were kind of known for this long one-arm shot, you know. So we got to up it. We got to, you know, pass it along, and the movie wasn't even that great, but
is it still known as the longest oneer? Yeah,
I don't even know, but at the time we did it, it was.
Wow.
You know, and we had taken it over, and
for our listeners, a oneer is everything's a word
shot. Yeah.
Okay, no cuts.
And I was a part of a few oneers. There was a cool oneer we did on True Detectives where Walter Garcia was fight coordinator again, and Michael Jaworski was doubling Woody Harrelson, and I was doubling Matthew McConaughey, and we did this long oneer through this neighborhood, and we shut down the neighborhood, and helicopter and cars and this, and going through multiple houses and guns and dragging, you know, and it was, I don't even remember how long that one was, but it was so long, and they had built in multiple wipes, you know, and we never used them because it worked, you know, and it was like, I don't know, we didn't think it was going to work. We had 2 different wipes built into this long, you know, but oneers are great. And the fight scene on Oldboy was 4 levels, but production only gave us personnel, the stunties for 2 levels.
Okay.
So after the first level died and Josh Brolin moved to the next level, all these guys run down the stairs, change their clothes in the stairway, come out on this level. He kills these guys. He comes to us, fighting us again in the same shot as other people, stair falls, all this stuff. And then these guys are running down the stairs to the first floor, changing their clothes. So after he kills us and he goes down, so it looks like, you know, 40-some, 50 guys, and it was only like 17, 18, 19 of us. And it was such a cool crew, such a cool moment. Spike Lee was the director. It was, you know, Mark Norby was the stunt coordinator with J.J. Perry, and it was just this amazing thing. And Walter choreographed every, you know, like every beat of it and rehearsed it as Brolin when Brolin wasn't there. And then he was in it, in the fight scene with us. But it was just masterful, and it was so much fun. And that one, I actually was nervous, not for the gags I was doing, but because you didn't want to be the one to screw it up, you know? It was just like, oh man, I got all my brothers with me, and, you know, we wanted to make this oneer, and literally Josh Brolin, you know, it wasn't his double on the day, it was just him. He was on oxygen in between the takes because he was so exhausted. And I think we nailed it on the 3rd take, and we did one more for safety, and the 4th take ended up being better than the 3rd take, and the 4th is the one that was in the shot. And we had this whole like 12-hour day mapped out for it, and we were kind of like starting slow, and then the run through went good, the 2nd take went good, you know, but a little thing nailed it on the 3rd take. We were like, that was pretty good, you know. Everybody took some waters, reset everything. They're like, let's try again. And then we just went harder because then we knew we had one under our belt, and it was just so cool, so perfect. And that feeling of like you just won the championship with your like team of fighters, you know. It was like we went to war, and I think we were out of there in 4 hours that day, you know, and it was like 12 hours slotted to shoot that scene because nobody knew it was going to happen. And that was pretty amazing.
It probably felt like a culmination of that feeling that you had on a ski team. when they're all putting a show together, and then bringing in, having to do it all in one shot
with costume change.
Yeah, it was like a live show.
Props and everything placed in the stairway, and we're running by each other, trying not to mess up each other. And it was just like such a cool team feel.
That same theater feeling you feel with a live Broadway show or a ballet or the opera. You had that legit on film.
Yeah, it was pretty special. And that I did it with my friends, and it was a cool moment, and then we took a little piece of history, because for a time, and I honestly don't know if it still stands, probably not, because there have been some cool runners since then, but it was the longest single shot fight scene, and we
He did it, yeah.
We felt like we were, doing the original Oldboy justice too by, throwing an homage to it.
Yeah.
It was cool. Special moments, very cool experience, cool photo at the end of it and stuff. Yeah.
That's so cool. And you're a very motivated man. You're always teaching yourself new skills. What would you advise stunt performers, getting into the business, some of the key skills that you really need to focus on teaching yourself and really to understand the industry and how to move forward and have a career in the industry, not only as a stunt performer, but eventually moving into coordinating and filming and things like that.
Yeah.
Take us a little bit through the journey of how you gathered some of those skills and what you would recommend for stunt performers to really start honing in on.
I think, part of our industry as stunt performers is that we need to be, we don't have to be experts at everything, but we need to be able to pick up a new skill quickly. We need to be able to, deal with, because you're not going to be able to do the trick you like to do, or you're not going to be able to throw a fall to the side you like to throw it on, or, whatever you get into a fight scene, it always ends up being like, oh no, I have to throw a left up, like those are my worst things, or I have to fall down this way. I have to do this in high heels. I have to, there's always it's always just terrible. You're always set up terribly for your stunt, and I have to drive this car that, won't start in the hornet's nest over the passenger seat. And I have, it's always just, like shambles, your stunt. So I think just being able to be, just being able to adapt in a situation and really knowing what you're doing inside and out, and just, really like researching certain things and, of course, like the technology side nowadays with filming and understanding cuts and understanding setups and shots and, how many, watch a fight scene and don't just look at the fight, look at where they were at, what side they were on, how many shots it took, how many wides it took, what's it going to take to recreate this fight scene, or what did the stunt team need to do to prepare for this? Like, where were the wire gags at? Where were the camera guys at? Where were the riggers at? Where were, logistically, how would something like this play out? And when you're on set and, you get a chance, just be a sponge, absorb everything, learn what all the different departments do on set, learn what the director's notes are, learn what the camera guys are looking for, how, the DP interacts with the camera guy who interacts with the stunt coordinator to make these shots happen. Like, really, really be a sponge. From any position on that set, you should know what that person does, what his goals are, if he's good at his job or if he's not. Like, you should be dissecting everything, it's in the details. And the more if you're on a line, doing a wire gag, know what type of system you're on. If it's a hand pull, if it's a 2-to-1, if they're going to some type of a gold tail, and ask them, how long is my tail at the end of the gold tail? Like, what does this feel like? What does it feel like?
Learn how to try those knots. Learn the physics behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, no, maybe they're saving you too much because they're trying to protect you. Let them know, like, hey guys, you can dump me a little more at the end. Like, no, trace your lines back. See who's on your line. Give them the fist bump. Get them excited. Get them. I worked with Ben Akrig, and he is a stuntman. This guy will look at the riggers and tell them, hey, let's amp it up a little bit on this one. Like telling these guys, like jumping off ladders, yanking them into a brick wall to go harder. Like, it's go time. This is what I trained for. This moment right now is going to live forever. Hit it. Like, and he will yell at these riggers, motivate them, to go hard, and they're like, oh, I was trying to save you, buddy, but whatever, but he understands, like, Ben can rig every rig he is on, he could rig it himself, you know, and that's what it takes to be, you know, a full, you know, like very, very full, well-rounded, is not just, you know, learning your skills or honing your skills, learn every skill, you know, like, and be kind to everyone on set. And, you know, like if we're looking for a guy or a girl and they're pretty evenly matched skill wise, the first thing we act is, you know, what's their attitude on set? How do they interact with the other performers? You know, how do they interact with the crew? You know, how do they interact when things don't go well? How do they interact on hour 13? You know, like, these are the questions that we care about, because we're trying to, you know, we're not just trying to take part, we're trying to take over. We're trying to, you know, not do what's been done. We're trying to do what hasn't been done, you know?
Yes.
And with that is the whole process, because we understand that process and the whole experience of it is just as important or more important than the product, you know? And yeah, we want to create special, unique things, but we want people to have fun. We want people to be safe, and we want people to leave there feeling like we accomplished something together.
Yes.
You know, like one of the really cool attributes about our team is that we make every department feel like we're in it together. And like on second unit days, when Walt was second uniting, or on Starville, he was first unit director, we would have like something go wrong, like with a costume or something. The costumer runs in, fixes it like this. The sound guy high fives her. We come over, fist bump behind monitor. Here we go. Like, it is a team feel, because why not? Like,
Yeah.
we get to do the best jobs in the world. Nobody's like, it's amazing. We get to play fairy tale land and make movies and create entertainment for people to, you know, to share something together with their family, to laugh, to get inspired by a superhero, to, you know, feel good because the good guys won in the end. Like, we give them that, you know, like, it's a very, we live.
It's rewarding.
Extremely rewarding.
Yes.
Yeah, very rewarding. That's perfect. And you know, and the more we realize that, the more we appreciate that. And sorry, getting back to new people coming in.
Yeah.
It's really
Being a stunt performer on that elevates the team.
Yep.
Not only in terms of their physical preparedness and their skill level, but more importantly, attitude.
Totally.
Elevate that attitude and share that excitement and passion and hard work ethic. Even if I'm conscientiousness.
Quite as talented, we will take that person 100 times out of 100. We will take the kinder, more empathetic, more thoughtful, and someone who's looking out for their teammates too. You know, like, yeah, this person might be the number one or the best option for the spot, but, you know, their gag may take 20 minutes in a 12-hour day. But is that person helping out, running to the stunt bag to grab a pad for this other performer, running to grab a pad to grab over here because one of the riggers is on his knees fixing things? Like, we want that person. We want that performer every time. Not 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times. We want that performer, you know? We want people who are, you know, there for each other just as much as there for their gag. So, but it's a wonderful industry that we're in.
Yes.
But I will say, you know, it is a hard nut to crack, you know, and people starting out, it's not going to be easy. And if it is easy, don't consider yourself lucky, because sometimes, you know, the strength in our industry and what we do and the character that needs to be built up, it takes a struggle.
Yes. You appreciate the journey more once you've had the struggle.
Absolutely.
You don't take it for granted. If something is difficult to achieve, it's that much more special when you do achieve it and
Absolutely.
get there. And then you're able to recognize the struggle in other people and help them through reaching their goals, even beyond the industry, whether it's someone that's, you know, writing a book, or they're an athlete, you know, a football player or whatever. You're able to help encourage them to continue that drive and continue that determination and persistence.
Yeah.
What, summing everything up, what are some character traits that you would...
Oh, sorry, Jackie. I think 14 minutes.
14 minutes is up.
Thank you for having me. This has been a really good experience.
I love it. Character traits that you would sum up that you feel have driven you in your life and that you aspire to live up to and that you want to leave with your children as living by example through your life?
I think with myself, well, I guess a way to answer this is one of my hobbies. One thing I really enjoy doing is running. I love to run. And sometimes, when I go home on the weekends, I get to do my run in the morning. Joey and I would start off together, and then I just kind of go off on my own, or we have little trails that we do by the house. And I like to run without AirPods. I like to run without a watch. I just like to go myself, run, and push a little harder than what, I need to do. Joey and I have done a lot of endurance races and triathlons and marathons and things. And
so great you get to share that together and push each other.
She keeps me in shape for sure.
She probably gets your butt in that up.
But when you run, it's very raw. It's a very simple sport. It takes no thought. You can really just go deep into thought yourself, and it's almost like meditation. And eventually, if you push hard enough when you're running, a little voice kicks in, and that voice tries to get you to slow down. That voice tries to get you to stop. That voice says, "Okay, yeah, that was a good workout. You did good. You should stop now. Oh man, you might be sore. This voice."
You start to feel the pain.
Yeah, and it's a real thing, and it's not like another personality. It's just self-preservation. It's all the weakness that we have inside of us comes out when you feel the squeeze. Like we're like a grape, and you get that squeeze, and you get to really feel some pain and some push and some
starting to hit the wall.
Yeah, and it's very convincing, that voice, to try to get you to quit. It's very convincing, and that the tweak in your calf, you should probably call it quit. It's very convincing thing, especially like in a marathon when you're digging deep into the high teen miles, or reach that 20 mile, 21, 22. It's real, because you're not quite there. You're not on the downhill yet. It's still just like very hard. And I enjoy quieting that voice. I've always had a good relationship with that voice, that I'm in charge, that when when the squeeze is on, you just push against it, and you recognize that that's what it is. You recognize that, oh, there it is. As a little side example, when Joey and I were getting married, one of our friends said, "Just so you know," or no, it was her grandpa, because he married us, and he was talking about the wedding day. He said, "Just so you know, on your wedding day, something will go terribly wrong. Something you didn't think of, something you thought of, but just happenstance just goes bad. Something will go bad. And when that something happens, look at each other and say, oh, there it is. You're expecting it." Yeah. And otherwise, if you're not, it's supposed to be the greatest day of your life, the happiest day of your life, the perfect day. You've planned everything for months and months. You've spent way too much money, all these things that should be perfect, but it's not going to be perfect. There will be a few things that just really go bad, like it's just part of a wedding day. And he told us, he said, when you see it, just say, oh, there it is, And when I'm running and I hear that voice, I hear it come on quiet, and then all of a sudden it gets loud. And you can either listen to it and give in, or you can recognize, oh, there's the voice, there's a squeeze, there's the quitter, there's the thing that's not going to get me to stay on this course, or to do another audition, or to stay on this diet, or to do anything. It's the same voice in whatever you do. But for me, running is an easy way to bring it out. And then I can shut it up real quick, because I realize, oh, there's that voice. That's the quitter. That's the me that didn't make it in this business. That's the me that, it said something mean when I was frustrated, and Joey and I were in a disagreement about something. That's that voice that leads to, someone, pursuing a bad habit that is going to lead them down a dark road. Like, that's that voice, that's that thought process. That's that road. That's that bad snack. That's that skipping a weight day. That's that skipping, a day in the gym. That voice is a real thing, but it's also a muscle. Resilience is a muscle. Being in charge of that voice is a muscle. And, everything starts small, becomes big. Like any amazing athlete you can think of, or amazing writer or director or anyone, was having their diaper changed at one point in their life. You know,
Yeah.
we were all just infantile. We were seeds. We were not able to survive on our little baby selves. You know, like all of us started somewhere and grew into this, whatever we are. It grew into this, you know, person running a podcast, you know, like with these crazy things that I don't understand, flickering from this,
Yes.
you know, everything. Anybody that is anybody started somewhere very small and took a lot of time to build up and build up and build up. And just like anything, the bodybuilders, you know, no big bodybuilder was naturally like that. You know, it took so much time and effort, and all these little things and all these little traits, everything that, you know, you could want to be is something that can be honed and trained and multiplied. And, you know, for me, a good character trait is being able to be in charge of that voice, whatever that voice is. And I bring that voice out by running, and I recognize it, and I say, there he is. There's that quitter. There's that Paul that's not going to come out today. I'm going to push 1 more mile. I'm going to push until I get sick. I'm going to push past it for no other reason, to just show that voice, don't come out today, you know, like, and every time you push, that voice knows, I got to wait a little bit longer to get it, you know, and it's going to be a battle forever. The voice never goes away. It's always there.
You know, get stronger at fighting that voice.
Absolutely.
Silencing it. You build, like you said, you build that muscle up.
That voice gets very quiet, you know, it gets very quiet. You can still hear it. And my voice is, it's hard to come out, but he's still there. But he's quiet and he knows his place, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul, so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your voice.
Yeah.
And your motivation and inspiration for the industry that you're so passionate about.
Yeah.
With stunts and film and balancing everything with your family. And we're really excited. Thank you so much for bringing that today.
This is so cool you're doing this, Jackie. I'm so proud of you. Everything you do with such love and such care and such effort. And I'm always proud of you. But yeah, this is a very cool thing you're doing, and sharing a lot of stories and inspiring a lot of people. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm honored. I'm sorry I'm not a better interviewer, and I'm sorry I only gave you 14 minutes. I really, you know, I got a busy schedule. I was going to go to Panera Bread later, and they closed.
We took those 14 minutes and we spread it, and we expect just like we elevate everything on set. We elevated those 14 minutes.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
So Paul, thank you for your kind words. And like you said, it's a team. I'm really blessed. I got a great team behind me making all this possible.
Yep.
You know, Luke and Erica and Caleb doing the music, and just the whole, you know, set up here in the studio. I'm just really, really grateful. It's a good stunt team, a good team making this podcast possible, and a good team of guests. And
good job.
Really grateful. So thank you so much, Paul, for joining us today. And look forward to hearing more adventures and seeing you in action.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.